Tyler is kicking it today.
We got a little warm up for you early birds. When you're ready, join along.
Oh yeah, it's time, Tyler.
We're going to sing an old classic.
Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together together in love. We are many textures, we are many colors, each one different from the other. But we are entwined with one another in one great tapestry. Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together together in love. We are different instruments playing our own melodies, each one tuning to a different key. But we are all playing in harmony, in one great symphony. Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together together in love. A moment ago, still we did not know our unity, only diversity. Now the Christ in me greets the Christ in me, in one great family. Weave us together in unity and love. Weave us together together in love.
Welcome to Unity Center of Walnut Creek. If you choose, please rise and join us in singing Two Branches.
1, 2, 3, 4. I'm in you, you're in me. We're two branches on just one tree. Look around, all you see is part of you and part of me. We're two branches on just one tree.
Just one tree.
I look in your heart and I see me. I'm in you,
You're in me. We're two branches on just one tree.
look around,
All you see is part of you and part of me.
we're two branches on just one tree.
Just one tree.
Look in your heart and I see me. I'm in you,
You're in me. We're two branches on just one tree. Look around. All you see is part of you and
in you, you're in me. We're two branches on just one tree. Look around, all you see is part of you and part of me. We're two branches on just one tree. We're two branches on just one tree.
Thank you.
Well, are you guys ready to rock and roll today? Well, we have Starlight with us, and they are wonderful with music. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we also have Tyler, Dusty, and Dan. Thank you so much for being with us here today. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Linda Stevens, and it's my joy and my honor to be a part of your service this morning. So I encourage you to turn your cell phones off. And as you're doing that, please turn back and wave to our folks at home. We know you're here in love and in spirit. Even though you're not here in physical, we appreciate you being with us this morning. Now, Reverend Kristen is here today. It's always good when she's in town. You know, she does a little bit of traveling, but we are so blessed always when she is here. So she'll be our speaker this morning. Now, it's time to go inward to that special place that you in spirit talk to each other. Unity is a positive path for spiritual living. We have a mission here at Unity Center, and that is in a loving community. We empower spiritual growth by modeling and teaching universal spiritual principles. And we have a statement of faith that we say together every week. So I encourage you to once again go inside and affirm with me. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. Now sink just a little bit deeper. Take a breath. And affirm once again, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, the all-loving goodness of God. Thank you. Now, I know we have several new people here this morning because I already met a couple of three of them. So I'm going to ask you, if you're new today and you feel comfortable, to raise your hand so we can bring you a packet of information that helps welcome you to Unity Center of Walnut Creek. I'd like for you to fill that out, the inside of it, so we know you were here, and also take it over for a welcome gift over to our bookstore after service. And if you didn't raise your hand, that's okay too. You can still, there they are. Thank you. Thank you, Denise. Yes, thank you, guys. We have one more up here, Danae. Do you have a packet? Thank you for raising your hand. So anybody who's new today, please go to our bookstore to receive a welcome present for you. Now for everybody else, you've got a connection card in the seat pocket in front of you. If you'll fill that out, we'll know you're here. Also, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, that's a great place for communication. And if you ask for something, one of our staff members will call you back during the week if it requires a response. Now it's time to stand up and tell your neighbors good morning, so you can give a hug or shake a hand.
Join us. It's in everyone.
My name is CL, and it is my honor to provide you with some of our upcoming events. Your heart will be touched by Charlie Thwaite's joyful and thought-provoking music and message when he joins us next week. And he will be with us for the morning services and an afternoon concert at 2 o'clock. He will provide us with a fun, connecting concert with opportunities for you to join in with singing. Our summer series of classes will start the week of June 4th, and we'll start the week with spiritual sign language and connecting to the Divine Soul collage, and in the week with Kundalini dance meditation. Yes, I see Mario's excited about that. These classes are a lighthearted way to deepen our spiritual connections and a great way to kick off summer. And do you love Mexican food? Yes. Woo! And do you love Unity of Walnut Creek? So you can share the love by eating at Dos Coyotes Mexican Cafe on June 5th. Share the love by eating with them at between 11 and 9 p.m. I'm sure it's p.m. It didn't say p.m., but I'm sure it's p.m. Yeah, it could, or 9 a.m.?
11 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Well, it says 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., really? Is that what it is? All right, well, all day. All day. And 20% of the check will be donated to Unity. Woo! Okay, so please take a close look at today's bulletin for details on these and other activities.
They need to say when they check out at Dos Coyotes that they're with Unity.
All right, it didn't say that here either, but you need to make sure that you say that you are here for Unity so that they'll credit us for 20% of your check. It's in the Willows. Yeah, it is in your bulletin. So, like I said, take a look at your bulletin and you'll find out. And now Nancy Faraci.
Hello, everyone. So I'm here to just invite you again. We've had flyers up for a while, but I wanted to invite you to this Wednesday evening's event that the Spiritual Insight Programs Committee has been bringing forth with David Best. The event will run Wednesday night from 7 to 9:30 p.m. There will be an intermission. And what David brings is just this special sort of harmonious, peaceful presence. And what he's going to be presenting on is a bridge to the dimension of the sacred feminine. So it's addressing the feminine. And he's going to have Ron Listeria here, who many of us have heard here before, who plays crystal bowls. So within the performance, they're going to be creating this very sort of loving, harmonious, energetic field. And within that field, David's going to be speaking. There'll be music accompanying the presentation throughout the evening. And there's going to be a field to help people connect to their inner feminine and release any sort of, basically forgive themselves and release any energies that are no longer serving them in whatever role they took on in this lifetime. And while it addresses females in particularly because of the present climate that we're in societally, it's also speaking very much so to the feminine in all of us. So it is inclusive. So men and women are certainly invited to attend. So, and by the way, there are flyers if you want to know more about it. There's flyers here on the welcome table out front and in the bookstore. And there's also a nice write-up on page 2 of the Centerpoint newsletter that came out recently. What's that? Oh, yes, and in the bulletin board we have out there, the bulletin window. So, okay. Any questions? I'll be around, and Zula also is part of our volunteer team, so we'd be happy to answer any questions about it. It's a $25 to $30 love donation requested. And so now I'd like to call up Julia Shin. She's going to speak on the rally event for our youth group.
Good morning. My name is Julia Shin, and I'm part of our Youth of Unity program here in Walnut Creek. And last week, myself and around 10 other YOUers, as we call them, went to Sonora and participated in our biannual rally event. And essentially, these rallies are a meeting of other chapters around our area of YOU, and and we come together to grow spiritually, individually, and within each other, and to just kind of get into our Zen mode and just kind of learn more about ourselves and each other. And these events are put on by our thank you, John. These events are put on by our regional officers, and I was actually just elected as one of those. And essentially what we do is that we create a purpose statement, such as the one on my shirt here, Get in Touch, and we create activities and events within these rallies to help our younger people to connect within themselves. And in order to pay for these events, we host fundraisers here. So yesterday we had our car wash, and so we're gonna have another one of those soon. So look in your bulletins, check those out. And so I look forward to representing Walnut Creek as a regional officer. So thank you.
Thank you, Julia. We're thrilled. This has been quite a lineage at Unity of Walnut Creek. Did you know that? Yeah, year after year, we've had a regional officer. So Eva is stepping down McCaslin, and Julia is stepping up. So thank you for keeping our leadership going and our presence at Unity of Walnut Creek. Yeah. Bobby is our prayer chaplain today, and we're going to begin our meditation time with a prayer. So we just invite you to take a moment to get comfortable and to get ready to receive both the prayers and the music that will guide you through the process.
Today's community prayer is ritual. When I pray and practice ritual, the mundane becomes infused with spirit. Ritual can transform almost any day, everyday act into a sacred, holy experience. When my actions begin with prayer and ritual, I am reminded of all that is sacred in my life and the world. I consciously enact ritual and enter the present moment more fully. I strengthen my conscious connection with Spirit and others who I invite to join me in sharing a simple act of honor and dedication. I become a living prayer as I light a candle, greet the sun or moon, bow to another, smell a flower's fragrance, wash my hands or face with spiritual intention. Through ritual, I find release and renewal. Everything I do is elevated to a higher state of being.
All is well now. All is well. All is well now. All is well. All is well now. All is well. all is well. All is well now. All is well. Deep within me. All is well. Deep within me. All is well.
I come to this prayer time knowing that I am steeped in blessing. Blessed by the divine essence of who I am from the inside out. And I call forth now the elements of earth, imagining myself blessed as I am doused with water. Blessed as I circle around the fire with those I love. With a community that calls me up to the highest expression of who I am. And loves me deeply for exactly who I am. Call forth these gatherings, these rituals, these ways of being that are in our DNA, our ancestral bones, to circle by the fire, to purify with water. To lay in a field of wildflowers. Feel the warm sun. To notice for the first time the aliveness of the rocks. The Christ consciousness in someone we've seen every day, including ourselves in the mirror. To come to that knowing fresh again, that seeing once again. Causes us to bow down with honor. So if any one of these images evokes something in you, I invite you to rest with it for a moment. To allow yourself to be in a ceremony within your inner eye, within your own heart. While we enter the silence together. So we return once again to the blessings, the sacred blessings of everyday life, the simplicity of interacting with fire and light and water and air and earth, and being reminded of the divine in us. We thank you, Spirit, for whatever we may have come with on our heart today. We truly know that all is well, and so it is.
All is well now. All is well. All is well now. All is well. All is well now. All is well. Deep within me. All is well. Deep within me. All is well.
This is a little tune that came in as a rewrite of a classic. That's about the combining at last of the divine feminine and the divine masculine to the benefit of all.
Let's create a new world. Join our powers together. Tell me, mister, now when did you last let your heart decide? Time to open our eyes. Heal the spell we were under. Make a new world of wonder. Take that magic carpet ride.
A whole new world. The best of you, the best of me. Woman and man is one. We've just begun to see all we can be.
A whole new world where strength and care walk hand in hand. No more mistrust or fear. It's crystal clear. It's time to start a whole new world with you.
To start a whole new world with
Unbelievable heights, indescribable feelings, universes revealing in an endless diamond sky.
a whole new world.
And open your heart.
There's so much we
Can't
can
you
do
feel
and
it's
share.
much better?
Soaring like shooting stars, we've come so far. We can't go back to where we
A whole
used to
new
be.
Come now, take my hand.
A place of harmony and bliss, spreading out everywhere with love and care. Let me share this whole new world with you. Whole new world. That's where we'll be.
That's where we'll be.
A joyous space, a wondrous space for you and me.
Well, that was especially touching to see two good friends who love music and making music together sing that. Thank you. Whew, I heard it the first time, but it got me this time. Yeah, you too? Yeah. That's what it's all about, isn't it? This coming together as all people and together within ourselves, these energies of masculine and feminine supporting one another. That's what this whole series has been all about. And this is the last of our 3-week series, but it's not the last of the theme, because it's a theme that continues to run through our lives, and we keep reminding one another of what needs to come up and what needs to come into balance and support with in order for us to really experience the divine wholeness and the human wholeness, the human divine wholeness, if you will, the coming together of all these pieces and parts of the journey. So on this last leg of the journey, I want to talk a little bit about ritual, and I kind of surprised myself with the theme, or I guess Spirit surprised me with the theme. And I thought, well, I don't know really what I'm going to say about ritual. And then, of course, like a lot of things, once I got into it, it's like, oh, wow, we could do like 10 weeks on ritual. How rich, how fun. And it brought me back, actually, and it may bring you back to some experiences you've had in your own life where you've really touched that very sacred divine through some kind of mystical experience. That can be a very physical experience, which is a lot of what ritual is the physical combined. You know, it's the mundane and the sacred together. It's the mundane infused with sacredness, sacred intention, prayerful intention. Sometimes it just sweeps us away, though. You know, Spirit just takes us on a journey. And that was the experience that I had on this particular story I want to share with you in my 20s. You know, a time when we are kind of finding ourselves, right, is a typical, it certainly was true for me. Anybody have that experience? Still have the experience? Did then and still do, which is great. It just means you're on the journey, always evolving, right? But this was a time in particular that I was kind of seeking what is mine to do, and I had lost a job, and it wasn't feeding me, and it wasn't a good job for me. But I was also just kind of looking, and I started grad school, and I'd fairly recently found Unity. And I was working on, as a freelancer, I got a job writing, I was in PR, so I was writing press releases for this Save the Black Rhino campaign in Africa. And I just got lit up over this. You know, it was just like, wow, this is like something I can really get behind and care deeply about and feel passionate about. At the same time, in my new Unity experience, I was reading The Course in Miracles, which told me everything in life is an illusion. And I wanted to hurl that thing across the room. Anybody have that experience with The Course in Miracles? Yeah, 2 hands in the back. So it was like a mix of all these things, right? And so one day I went to drop off my press releases at my employer's office, and instead of turning around and going back the way I came, back home, my feet were just directed, you know, in a way that like I couldn't deny. It was just like, okay, where are we going? You know? And I was marched down the street and take a left and take a right and into this used bookstore I'd never been in, which, by the way, was Powell's Used Books, which is my last name. Kind of interesting. And immediately, I'm a browser, so normally I will take my time in a bookstore, but I was just immediately directed, go back in the store in this little corner, turn around, look up, there's the book, take it home. And it was Reinventing Eve by Kim Chernin. And as I opened the pages and read the first story, she tells of a dream, and in the dream there's all this imagery of, as dreams are, very vivid dream, of her notebook being below the window, and the window opens up, and a squirrel comes in, and it walks in the ink on the page, and then it goes out, and then she finds herself out digging in the dirt, and she comes back, and she's shaping this clay figure, and she gets that it's the woman who is not yet. Of course, she is shaping herself, but it's something bigger than that, what she's shaping there, you know? And so she said it was so vivid that when she woke up, she immediately looked over, and the window was closed, there were no ink prints, there was no sign, and then she looked at her hands, and her hands were dirty with mud or soil. So these experiences, these mystical experiences, it opened me to that whole realm in a whole new way. And during the time I was reading the book, I'd find myself being awoken at like 4:44 in the morning or sometime around 4 something that was near that time, regularly, like night after night. And that was, I was a sound sleeper, and 4 a.m. was middle of the night to me. So, so that was a very odd kind of new thing for me. And then I also found myself just automatically doing these sort of ritualistic things. I would begin to put candles in the windowsill and rocks and sacred items. And, I was in big city of Chicago living in an apartment building. Outside my window was another brick building, that was like, this wasn't like, I wasn't like dancing in the moonlight in the fields, But God can penetrate anywhere, right? And so, but what was so interesting about this, and then I would be, guided off, and it was like everything was just on automatic. Anybody have these experiences before? I know some of you have, right? So you're just being taken, right? So then I'd be taken to the kitchen, and I'd make eggs, all the while my sister, my roommate's still sleeping, and I'd sit mindfully at the table and eat my eggs, and then I'd go back to bed. And so this was just happening night after night for some time, and then it just stopped. But during that time, it was that touching in of that really, that experience that you've just been brought on a ride, on that magic carpet you just sang about. It's that kind of experience, But the ritual, which was so fascinating to me, it was the ritualizing and the movement and the actions and the making of the building of these altars that I was doing, and the preparing of the food, and the way that I was eating the food, and the food that I was guided to make. All of it felt like it was part of this grand ritual. And as I was doing these things, I felt so deeply connected to lost ancestry, so deeply connected to tribal sisters and tribal brothers. It was a kind of bringing forth something lost in us, lost in me. And I believe lost for us, but easily found. And easily found through ritual. That we can infuse our lives with this very simply. But first we have to look at why we don't. It's always important to look at why we don't. When I start my prayer classes, we almost always look at this article on why don't we pray, and talk about ourselves, the reasons why we don't pray instead of why we do pray. We kind of know why we do pray, but we don't always look at why we don't. And it's almost always the same reasons that we all come up with collectively. There's not enough time in our perception. We don't really know how to pray, or pray correctly, or pray affirmatively, or pray whatever it is that we think we have to pray a certain way, and we don't know how. We don't really think it's very effective. We don't really want to get quiet and still and face the stuff that's going on inside of us. It's easy to remain distracted in this world with a zillion things, right? So easier just to open up the computer and surf the net or get into social media or whatever it is that might distract us from what is really true inside for us. So for some of us, prayer becomes an elimination of the distraction and therefore a facing of what is up. Or we don't really want the transformation that is available for us because it might upset the apple cart of our lives, the way things are going. Even though there's a part of us that knows in our heart of hearts we want to be continually evolving on the spiritual path, there is a sense, maybe a part of us that resists. So for all the same reasons that we resist prayer, we resist the idea of ritual. And more. Because ritual in our rationally minded world is not really seen as very reasonable or sophisticated, right? It might even seem a little primitive. And so it's easy to kind of dismiss it and say, well, that's kind of like child's play, right? Or it's a little silly, or it's, just it doesn't feel very, masculine, does it? And therefore acceptable. So there's that kind of sense of it's not that significant. And so we have to overcome then, or look at that if we want to enact more ritual in our lives, or at least just try it out. Just experiment with it a little bit. And so why do we need it? Well, let me count the ways. One of the, 130 years ago almost, Unity was founded by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. And our very grounding of what we are about in Unity is about shifting our thinking to the divine, right? Getting into the feeling space as well, but really shifting out of where we believe ourselves to be less than or something other than divine or Christed consciousness, and to change our thinking, to allow ourselves to let go of those beliefs of lack and limitation that are not of the truth, and to line ourselves up with what is true, what is whole, what is real about who we are as spiritual beings. But back 130 years ago, we did not process anywhere near the amount of information we now process today. UCSD recently did a study. Roger Bond was the head researcher, and in it they found that the human brain on average processes 34 gigabytes of information per day. They said that's enough in 1 week to completely overload a laptop. It could render it unuseful. And so we are today working with a lot of information and a lot of access to information, and therefore a lot of mental clutter and material clutter for that matter. Right? So there's a lot to cut through that maybe our foremothers and fathers didn't deal with to quite the same level that we do. So ritual is these ancient ways of, and prayerful, prayer and ritual go hand in hand, intentional ways that we can cut through some of that clutter, that we can help ourselves. If we incorporate ritual into our everyday lives, we may choose these meaningful, prayerful, intentional rituals over some of the wasted time on Facebook. I'm not saying it's all a waste, because our technological genius is that. It's genius, it's innovative, it's fabulous. It's just a little bit of an overload, it seems. And all of the information, all the rest, it's not just about that. So it's about kind of clearing the path, letting go of the stuff that's in the way, and by ritualizing, by bringing ceremony into our lives in rich ways, we can really slow all that down and declutter and open the space for the heart to be, ignited, and for the body to be incorporated into the prayer, and for the mind to be opened and decluttered. So these are all helpful ways. And you might think, well, we don't really practice ritual in Unity. Oh, well, let me tell you. Let me tell you a few of the ways that we do. Just this last year, we had a remembrance ceremony and a solstice ceremony. And then we had a Christmas Eve candle lighting that we do every year. And we hold our candles high in the whole room as we sing Silent Night, Holy Night. And then on New Year's Eve, we have a burning bowl ceremony where we write down what we want to release and we put it in the fire. And then we write letters to ourselves. And then on the first Sunday of the year, we do the white stone ritual where we write a guiding word or quality for our year on a stone that comes to us through meditation. During Easter this year, we did a communion ritual with the physical elements of bread and grapes and the metaphysical meaning of that imbued into that experience. Soon we're going to have a solstice celebration. Today we're going to do a ritual I'll tell you about that you're invited to join in after service. So we do have a lot of ritual. Every service, we hold hands, we sing the peace song as we close, and Unity churches all over the world do that. So it's here. It's here. It's in our lives. You may not be individually incorporating it into your lives or your families or your organizations, and we could probably bring more into our community experience. So, on Mother's Day this year, we also had another ritual. Mother's Day weekend, Ida Risi Alit came, the high priestess of Bali, and she brought lots of ritual, rich divine feminine energy to us that's about the Balinese way, which is beauty, which is devotion. We had a water blessing ceremony. We had chanting and ringing of the bell and meditation and a raising up of the energy. And after that experience, what I have experienced is that a trauma that has lived here in this community for over 30 years is gone. And that is the death of Carol Ruth Knox. Yeah. It feels gone to me. Does anybody else feel that clean energy, that renewal, that rebirth that is present? It feels so rich and present to me now. And so today's ritual is about sealing that in around our property. And so we did half the property this morning at 9 after the 9:30 a.m. service, and we invite whoever wants to join after this service to seal up the rest of the property with this ritual blessing of the water, not as release now, but as saturation of blessing, and rose petals of saturation of blessing from our whole community. So maybe a little bit more about that later. In Bali, everyday life is devotional like this. Ritual is a part of everyday life. People spend an enormous portion of their wages, I forgot what the percentage is, but it's really high, for offerings, for the making of the baskets, the gathering of the fruits and the flowers and the foods that they bring to temple. But they also every day put out in their own homes, at the doorsteps, in the doorsteps of businesses along the streets. And so it's a constant ritualistic pattern. The women spend a huge portion of their time preparing these offerings. They often look much like this, with flower petals and herbs and other gifts that we give over to the divinity within, the divinity in the allness of life. Now, I'm not suggesting that we become like another culture and completely mimic these ways of being, but what I am suggesting is that we could learn from some of these other cultures of simple ways that we could imbue our lives with the sacred through ritual and ceremony. And it's simple. You know, this is in our DNA. It's in our ancestral bones. We know this. We know the beauty of interacting with the elements of nature and with each other to create connection with spirit, with each other, and with all that is alive and well. We know how to bring this in. It's just a matter of opening our minds and hearts and trying it out. And maybe pushing up against a little bit of the resistance that might come, that might say whatever it says to you, that it in some way is not okay. Sobonfu Somé was a teacher who came from West Africa, part of the Dagari tribe. She lived in Sacramento, and she actually made her transition a couple years ago, but some are familiar with her from a lot of grief ritual that she did with people, but other ritual. Actually, that was what her gift was in bringing to the West, was to teach people in the U.S. and around the West ritual from her tribal traditions. And she would talk about how here in the U.S. her life was filled with schedules and planes and, you know, have to be here and have to be there and prepare this and prepare that and papers and so on. You know, you probably could relate to some of this, calendars and times and travel and so on. And she said when she'd go home, she didn't have anything to do. And it was so lovely. And she said she'd also talk to her brothers and sisters from the tribe about how in America there was so much stuff. Like our homes are filled with stuff and our cars are filled with stuff and everywhere is filled with stuff. And they would shake their heads, you know, and say, why? Why so much stuff? I don't understand the stuff. You know, it's like, why would you need more than your relationships and the beauty all around you and a few simple items to make your life, you know, easier? Why would you need all that stuff? So it's a good question to ask ourselves, isn't it? Because I don't have a good answer to it when I ask myself that question, and yet I continue to be in that kind of lifestyle. And so we like comfort, and we could come up with lots of reasons, but it's a good thing to just think about once in a while. And how if we were to remove some of the stuff, how much energy we free, right? How much energy we free in ourselves, in our minds, in our homes, in our workplaces, and so on. So ritual, how does it work? This idea, you know, of taking maybe twigs or stones or fire, candles, simple things, simple things that we can do to incorporate it into our lives. We can start our day and end our day with ritual, maybe begin our day with an intentional prayer and light a candle for what it is that we want to do that day. What is our divine purpose today? What is the intention we're walking out the door with? And maybe if you live with others, you could do this together. You could find a time that works for everyone to come together and share your prayerful intentions and light a candle and begin your day that way. And then when you come home, maybe even before you enter home, you could have a way of letting go of the world, cleansing somehow. Maybe using some water to douse your head or your third eye or your heart or your hands to say, thank you for the service, the opportunity to serve. And now I come into a place of home, of sanctuary and home, of connection with home. Or maybe you're going back out into the world to be part of meetings or somehow creating something in the world. But every time there is this kind of coming and going, there could be a ritual of some kind that you incorporate into your life. Gathering around together to share a meal, or if you live alone, invite some neighbors over, to have that sense of warmth and community and heart-to-heart connection, to break bread together. These are all rituals we do anyway, the meals anyway, and so we can ritualize our meals a little bit more by making a point of having them together, to share the highlights of our day or some area that we might need some support. It creates that builds that kind of connection and intimacy that this divine feminine principle that we've been talking about is all about. It's all about relationship, about connection and collaboration and communication. And we can certainly all benefit from all of those, can't we? So, rituals can also transform us. The ritual itself can not only declutter our minds and bring freedom and clarity, a sense of intentional purpose through our prayer, but it can also actually transform us in the midst of the ritual itself. Gay Williamson and David Williamson wrote a book together. David is a Unity minister. Gay is a psychotherapist. And this is an old book in 1994. It's called Transformational Rituals, Celebrations for Spiritual or for Personal Growth. And they had all these different ideas about different rituals. And one of the things that they do is a very simple thing that probably the YOUers do at Rally and we've done at our own retreats, but they would always end their retreat, with an appreciation circle. And in the appreciation circle, of course, one by one, everybody is sort of loved up and appreciated for the gifts that they bring. They talk about this one young man, his name was Ken, and Ken stuttered. It seemed like he had everything going for him in his life, but this was an area that was difficult for him, that he would always stutter when he went to say something. And so, of course, it created a lot of, uncomfortable sort of wiggling around for him, for others, a frustration for him. But that day, he was transformed by the ritual. So after he was all loved up with all the appreciation and it was his turn to speak, he spoke with just complete eloquence. Not one pause, not one stutter. And everybody was amazed and questioning, but the questioning brought no answers because it was a touching of that divine, that sacred mystery that, that can't be explained by the mind. And from then on, Ken spoke with confidence and even glibness. He never stuttered again. So it is through even these simple rituals that we can come together and heal and transform ourselves, our communities, and each other. So just to share a little bit more of today's ritual, what we'll do after the service is over is there won't be a receiving line, but anybody who wants to be a part will meet out on the lawn. And then you can take some rose, I'll pass around, we can take some rose petals and we'll infuse those with our blessings. This is all about blessing this community, blessing Unity of Walnut Creek, blessing our grounds, sealing in the energy from this whole time that we've been working with the Divine Feminine since the Mother's Day weekend when Ida arrived and did the blessing, to this Wednesday when David Best will come and work with us on on divine feminine and masculine balance and close out this time. So it's a sealing in, a sort of saturating in with our prayers, with our footsteps, the whole perimeter of our property. So whoever wants to be a part of that will just meet on the lawn right after service. So in truth, what we are all doing is shaping the human that is not yet. The human that is a part of this deep ancestry, this indigenous tribal understanding of ceremony and the ways that of being that we might call more feminine, and this genius, this innovative technological intelligence that we have brought forth that we might call the masculine, and bringing these together, weaving them together, lifting them up. We really have to raise up, though, the divine feminine that has been hidden and lost and dismissed and really even ridiculed back into her sacred place, so that we ourselves individually and holistically can be that very thing, balanced and whole. Balanced and whole in our community, balanced and whole in our world, bringing harmony to the earth in maybe a way that it never has before. Perhaps we are shaping not only ourselves of the human who is not yet, but something bigger than that in all of humanity. It's a gift that we are able to give because we have the conscious awareness to do so. So I want to really invite you into ritual this week, into trying it out, practicing it at home. Just go with your heart, see what guides you, and make a ritual, and see what happens after that. Who knows? It's part of the mystery, part of the fun. So as we raise up this divine feminine together, we affirm together that there is balance and harmony and wholeness. And let's do that together in this affirmation. I raise up the divine feminine energy within me, restoring wholeness, balance, and harmony in myself and the world. And so it is.
A whole new world. That's where we'll be. A joyous space, a wondrous place for you and me.
That was very beautiful, guys. Thank you, thank you. And thank you, Reverend Kristen. Beautiful. You guys all present? You going to work on rituals this week? Yeah, good. Me too. Our prayer chaplains will be here after the service to provide personal prayer support. So if you are a prayer chaplain, would you please stand and let the people see who's here? Yes, we have several here today. So if you have a concern or a joy on your heart and you would let the personal connection of prayer with one of our chaplains, please seek one of them out after service. And now it's time for our prosperity celebration. Let us open our hearts to the consciousness of giving and align with the universal law of circulation, which is, as we give, so shall we receive. Because in truth, there is no lack and no limitation. Abundance is our true nature. For your convenience, there's a variety of ways that you can give to Unity of Walnut Creek. For credit card donations, please use PushPay on your smartphone, or you can take out an envelope in the clipboard in the chair back in front of you. For those of you at home, you can also donate. Either use PushPay or click the donate button on the Watch Live. Now, I encourage you to take your tithes and your offerings in your hands and affirm with me our affirmation. Divine love, one with me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful. Thank you.
I'm going to steal a moment for another announcement. Watch next Saturday as a friend of mine, dear friend of mine, Christy Linnae, will be giving a concert here at 7 p.m. Saturday night. She is a world-class guitarist and singer. She is marvelous. So watch for that. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Love is but a song we sing, fear's the way we die. You can make the mountains rain, or make the angels cry. Though the bird is on the wing, and you may not know why.
Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Some may come and some may go, we will surely pass. When the one that left us here returns for us at last, we are but a moment's sunlight fading in the grass. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try to love one another right now.
Smile on your sister.
Come on, people now, smile on your sister, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. If you hear the song we sing, you will understand. You hold the key to love and fear, all in your trembling hand. Just one key unlocks them both, it's there at your command. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody gets together, try to love one another right now.
Smile on your sister.
Come on, people now, smile on your sister, everybody get together, try to love one another right now.
Smile on each other.
Come on, people now, smile on each other, everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Right now, right now. Brother.
60s love is still alive and well. That's right. Let's bless our love right here, this abundance that we are. Let's seal in the abundance as we move into our ritual as well and bless this together. We give thanks for the ever increasing, unceasing flow of absolute good in our lives now. So it is. Thank you.
We are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching. We are marching in the light of God. We are marching, marching, we are marching, marching. We are marching in the light of God.
This on the property, if you want to join us just right out here on the grass. And you want to tell us about what you did today?
We had sort of a fun day today.
Oh, good.
There's a lot of energy in the group, so it was a little hard to hold everyone down in the circle, so we all kind of just went in different ways. Some of us painted pictures or drew, and some of us went in the sand and played tag, so it was nice.
It was a play day.
That was a play day.
How about
Oh, we
YOU? Do
read
you want to
books.
share? Uh-huh.
Yeah, the YOUers just talked about fundraising, and I wasn't there for half of it.
Because you were trying
Yeah, I was here.
You were here with us. Very good.
So
we just talked about topics that we felt were important to us, such as like how animals affect our spirituality. And
Beautiful. Wonderful. All right, well, let's bless our youth ministry, our teachers. Group hug. Together. Children, youth, and teachers, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divine light within you. I invite you to take your neighbor's hand as we close out with our prayer of protection and peace song. Together, the light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God ever present, family are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
You are the light and the love and the peace on earth right now. So let your light shine and have fun.
Thank you.